What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome to DylanTalksTone 2. We're going to just talk about some comments from a video last week, about 7 days ago, I guess, or right around there, about seasonal guitar adjustments. And yeah, this is an interesting one. There's some actual technical questions in here, so we'll get to those. And maybe we'll talk about another video too, because this one doesn't have too many comments on it. For those of you that don't know, Dylan Talks Tone, the actual channel, is right here. And then we also make guitar parts and pickups and etc. We're working on some loaded pickguards today. So yeah, I'm actually going to shoot a video for the other channel about loaded pickguards today. So that's going to be pretty cool. So you'll see that coming up. So go ahead and like and subscribe to both channels if you want. If you're finding this for the first time. So there you go. So let's run over. We're going to talk about seasonal adjustments. And we did this video about 5 days ago. And we're going to go through the comments on this thing. Very first one, it's a Gibson. Of course, it's going to need some work. So what we did on this video is we went through a bunch of different guitars because there's all kinds of different styles of necks and different constructions and different some things do need more, some things need less. Honestly, it has nothing to do with who made the guitar. Because my retort to that is I worked on two Gibsons in that video, and one was perfect. But the SG Junior can move around a bit, and what you will find is mahogany will move more. Everybody loves mahogany because it's sustained, bro. But it's the softest wood, man. It moves the easiest. It's way more than maple. So when you have a neck that's mahogany, especially on a thin guitar with the neck joint that you have on an SG, it's just going to move more. It's just kind of how it is. It's been like that. So yeah, yeah, we can make jokes about Gibson, but the bottom line is the Les Paul was perfect. So I don't know what you want to say about that. You'll say something. I'm sure everybody wants to bag on Gibson, but honestly, a lot of these other guitars, your Squire, so like your Squire Strats and Tellys, they're going to move a bunch too. They don't actually. The wood selection is pretty random. So if you buy like a classic vibe or anything lower than a classic vibe, the wood selection on that is going to be pretty random because of the way they select parts for those Indonesian and Chinese guitars for the fender plants. And so, you're just not going to have the stability that you have in a more expensive guitar. It's just going to, move around some more. Now, does that mean that every guitar is going to move around a bunch? No, but it may be more in. You might have a good one, right? There's gonna be a bunch of people jump on. Mine's great. I've never had it. Okay, I get it. But if you looked at 10 guitars, 4 or 5 of them might be good, and 4 or 5 of them might move around a bunch because they don't. The selection of each piece for each guitar is not what it is for a more expensive guitar. So just keep that in mind. So if you get one that moves around, don't be surprised, but also don't stress about it. Quarter, turn, tweak a couple times a year, you're totally fine. I wouldn't overthink it too much. After we nerd out about it for 3 minutes. Hey Dylan, you want to try some more Music City stuff? If I send it to you, I love that last video you made. Heck yes, I'll try more Music City stuff. The Music City bridge, I actually have it on my Les Paul, my custom shop. And, I should take that off and put that on that other one. Because I want to put the original one back on my Les Paul custom shop. I should do that. We can make a video about it. But yeah, I would love to try their stuff. All of those hygrometers are nice, but they'd be more effective if they logged min, max, or even better if they data logged. I've branded versions of those, whatever brand, that display min, max, and they continually log the data. Okay. Yeah, cool. This is not a drag race, right? Like, we're not trying to oh crap, if the humidity changes by 3%, over the next 3 seconds, my engine's going to blow up. So data log, I get it. It's a neat feature, and min-max might be helpful. But okay, so that one right there, that the one that I showed you in the video is right there. I can data log that. You know why? Because humidity doesn't swing. It's not like 1 hour it's this and the next hour it's this and the next hour it's this. It's got lows and highs. And I'll tell you right now that it's at 46. That's the lowest it's been in months and months and months. And then the other day when I looked at it, what was it when we were in the video? 49, 48, something like that. And then I think I've seen it as high as 51. Okay. So 45 to 55 is where I like to have it. I'm not going to walk in here tomorrow. It's going to be 87. Right. And I'm not going to walk in here and I'm not going to and the other thing is a guitar takes so long to be affected by that anyway. So like, let's say for sake of conversation that we have 46% humidity and we wanted to raise it. And because we have a guitar that's kind of dried out, for example, let's say it was 30% humidity in here and we had an acoustic, for example, that was starting to dry out. We would take hydration, like those Diodario hydration stabilization packs, and we would put it in the guitar case and leave it in there for like 2 weeks. Right. So it's not like, if the humidity drops for 5% for one day, that the guitars are going to go whack. It's a long-term sort of thing. So I get the sentiment of needing data logging, but you're overthinking it if you're like on top of it so hard. You might have other stuff that is affected more quickly. You might have cigars or something. You know what I mean? That the humidity will ruin them in an afternoon if it's really humid. So, I get it, but as it applies to guitars, everything moves so slowly that I wouldn't worry about it if yours doesn't data log or min-max. Min-max might be cool. Min-max might be cool if you were going on vacation, right? Like if, let's say, it's October around here and we start using forced air heat and I go on vacation for a week and I come back and I go, oh, wow, yeah, we need to do something about this and we need to change what we're doing with our house as the season changes. That might be kind of helpful, but data logging makes no sense. For me, anyway. Let's see. I have truss rod adjustment is the first thing I check. Yes. I have more questions. 5,000s from the fretboard or from the bottom of the low E. So you go from the top of the fret to the bottom of the string. Does that correlate to the high E side? With gaps this small and wound strings being thicker, I would think that it would vary a lot. Okay, so we're not worried about what it is on one side or the other. That's string height. What we're concerned about is how straight the neck is. When you adjust neck relief, you're not looking at anything other than how straight the neck is under tension. That's the only thing. You're literally using the string as a straight edge. You could, if you wanted to, not even do that. You could put a straight edge on across the frets and measure that with a feeler gauge and not even use the string. Literally the only reason we're using the string is for a straight edge. That's what it's for. I should talk about that more specifically so that people don't get confused with that, because you set your string height with their saddles. The only thing that your neck relief does is set how straight it is under tension. That's it. Now, if you have a twisted neck, that's different, but that would manifest it in other ways, and that's a whole other conversation. Does having a guitar in a room with a dehumidifier help avoid making these seasonal adjustments? You probably will need to make seasonal adjustments at some point, no matter what. But really, going back to our hygrometer conversation, if you kept it within 45 to 55, you may never have to move anything. If you remember in the video, we did 6 or 7 guitars in rapid succession, and none of them moved except for one. So as long as the room is stable, the guitars will be stable. Humidifier if it's too dry, but other measures if it's too humid, right? So dehumidifier if it's too humid. So you need to look at what your numbers are doing, rising or lower. You know, if it's 45 to 55 and you're good. And the other thing too is if it's a little drier. So let's say you live in Arizona and you're never going to get to 45. Let's say it's always 25 to 35 where you live. You can't get more humidity. I used to live in Arizona. I'm from there. And you can't get up to 55 in Arizona. It's almost impossible. So there, what you would do is you would go from, let's say you would go from, I don't know, 35 to 45. Let's just pick a number. Stability within those numbers is more important than what the number actually is for an electric guitar. Now, for an acoustic guitar, it's different because when the top shrinks because of dryness, it will actually damage the guitar. But an electric guitar will just kind of move. The other thing that will happen with an electric guitar when it dries out is the neck will shrink and you will have like fret sprout and stuff. But as long as it's stable from that point and doesn't change a lot, it doesn't really matter. So electric guitars are actually pretty forgiving when it comes to this, unless they have things like binding. If they're bound, then yeah, you can have the wood shrink and the binding will pop if it's really, really dry. So I wouldn't go too dry, but worry about stability over what the actual number is, especially if you're living in a place where you cannot control your humidity up to the level like it is at my house, right? So stability is probably even more important. You left us hanging no link for the temp humidity sensor. Ah, crap. Okay. I need to adjust all mine. Thanks for the video. A full setup video would be awesome. Okay, we did that a couple of days later, so you can go over to the channel and check that out. We'll go over that video probably in a couple of days this way. Cool video. I just spent the last couple of weeks doing most of my guitars. Awesome. Next vid, every week I rotate 2 guitars. I put on display to have something different to look at. One stand in the bedroom and the other in my living room, and have a third stand in my studio. That's the perfect time frame for me to check for any neck movement, and it works out perfectly. Yes. And also, you should really look at how many guitars you have out. I have a lot. Mostly because it looks cool in videos, and also because I play them a lot. I take them off the wall, do a lot of comparison stuff. But keeping them in the case is going to be safer for them humidity wise. If you're a person who has a house that you can't really stabilize, putting them in cases will help that. Okay, so the speed with which we talked about the swings will be a lot slower in the case than in the room. Funny though, somebody said recently online that Jimi Hendrix at Woodstock, the intonation was still set up for a right-hander. Jimi Hendrix would bend notes in tune all the time. And then I replied because his guitar was strung right-handed. And then he replied back to me that it was strung left-handed. I was wrong about that. You're right. I forgot about that. But I went and looked at some photos of his guitar after this because I'm like, I got to get this right in my head because apparently I wasn't thinking right about it. So I went and looked at a bunch of pictures, and Jimi Hendrix's guitar was strung left-handed, like a normal guitar, but the intonation was correct. Like if you look at it's swept back from the B, the E to the B to the G, and then it's kicked forward, and then the D, the A, and the E, and the way it is all laid out on the guitar. The pictures of his actual guitar that I saw, it seems fine. Yeah, so there you go, man. You guys, this is super fun. Thanks for hanging out. Make sure you go and like and subscribe both channels if you want to do that. And yeah, there you go. Whoops, using this. I got nothing. I hope you all have a good day.